Good morning, Save Barnegat Bay fans. I'm so excited this morning to join you for our 4th virtual seining session. We have arrived at Browns Woods again because today and tomorrow our virtual rain barrel workshop participants are picking up their rain barrel tools so that they can build them at home. And so today I decided to come back to Browns Woods to seine because logistically it just made sense to be here. So we are back at our first site and I get to talk with you because we have a special guest today who I'll introduce to you in a minute. But we are doing our outreach program, our virtual seining program. So hopefully you can hear me okay. If you can't hear me, please make a comment in the description or in the comment section so that I can adjust my volume and or my distance from the camera. But we are wearing masks because we have a special guest today seining with us. Oh, they're already back. 3 hands, look at this. Usually you can't do that. Oh my gosh, we caught so many crabs. Alright, so yeah, 1 or 2. Alright, let's see how everyone's doing online. Is anybody watching? Hi, 3 people. Yay! Let's see. So far, everyone can hear me, it sounds like. We are going to tilt the camera so that you can see what we caught in our seine net. Matt and Kevin pulled the seine once so far, and we caught a whole school of, what, Silversides?
Silversides and snapper blues.
All right, Kevin. Oh wait, you're going up. All right, so tell us about that.
These are our blue claw crabs. We had a number of them in the net this morning. Well, a lot of silversides and a lot of...
So Kevin and Matt are looking through the net right now. I keep adjusting the tripod so that we can get everything in view. So we have our blue claws. All right, let me grab him. Yeah, do your thing. So we're making sure to get the fish back in the water pretty quickly because they will, it is kind of warm out today and so they will not survive very long without water. But this little guy is a perfect thing to talk about. Go ahead and take a wild guess if you know what animal this is. If you've been watching my seining programs, you should be able to name it by now. And it is a, drum roll please, blue claw crab. Hopefully everyone knows this little guy. Actually, this one's a girl. This is a female blue claw crab. I know that because the apron in the center is kind of wide and it has those swimmerettes. This little guy is alive. It's very timid, which is weird for this species of crab. Usually it would be roaring its claws by now, but it's not, which is kind of nice. Makes it easier to hold them. They can stay out of water for a little while without being in too much danger. This little guy is too small to eat or harvest. And let's see what we got in the bucket, because you guys have seen the blue claw crabs quite a few times now, and we get a ton of them here at Browns Woods. Silverside. Perfect. So this is a silverside, another really common fish we've seen a few times now in our seining programs. It does have a silver lateral line, and it's extremely important for the food chain of our Barnegat Bay ecosystem. Go ahead, I'm gonna... Or is it a sheep's head? No? We're trying to ID the fish in the bucket for now, but in the meantime, I'll introduce my friend Matt. This is Matt. He is an employee at Seeds of Service, which is up in Manaloking or Brick, actually, on Manaloking Road. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what you do there?
So we're just a community outreach center, and we help feed the public who are in need of food. I run a big community garden there. There's lots of stuff that's going on, especially this time of year. We got lots of tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, some flowers coming up.
So Matt and I are going to be working together to engage the Brick schools. So we are excited to do an outreach program where we're going to be doing a virtual program where Matt does a program on growing native plants and planting seeds, and then I'm going to be doing a session on clams and shellfish. So we're going to be engaging them virtually on a Zoom call. So that's the Brick Summer Program. What's it called? SEL?
It's called the Structured Learning Environment for SLE.
SLE. So SLE students. So if anyone's interested in virtual programming for their summer camp or for your fall programs when you get back to school, please give us a call. We're partnering with Seeds of Service this round, but we can do that with any group. So yeah, Matt was here to discuss that with us, so we invited him to come seining with us. So,
happy to be here, so happy to help out.
We have a, what did you send me?
Chug.
Mummy Chug. So here is a Mummy Chug fish. Perfect little specimen. Also very common in Barnegat Bay. And the key, oh, of course it swam away, but can you tell us a little bit about the Mummy Chug and how to ID them and why they're important to our ecosystem?
Mummy Chug's in the killifish family, and we love the killifish family because they eat mosquito larvae in the water. So this is a female, and it's going to be eating a lot of mosquito larvae. Females are usually larger. They're dusky brown. The males will have yellow tips to their fins when they're in their breeding colors, and we may get a male in the next haul, but I'll be able to show that in a little bit, hopefully.
All right, so we'll leave her there for now. So again, Mummy Chugs eat mosquito larvae, which is really beneficial to the balance of our ecosystem. So I think what we're going to do is we are going to pull the seine net again, but in the meantime, while Matt and Kevin are pulling the seine net, I'm going to carry you over to the creek and talk a little bit about that space over there. So come with me. All right. All right, everybody. Again, we are the naturalists and the camera people, and we get to have all the hats all the time. So we are at Browns Woods, like I said, and the Toms River is the river that Kevin and Matt are seining in right now. And I'm walking over, oh, there's baby ducks. Oh my gosh, hold on. I'm walking over to the creek where the Long Swim Creek comes out and meets the Toms River, and I don't know if you can see because it's kind of hard for me to see on the phone screen, but there's little baby ducks over here. See that? I don't know if you can see them. They're little tiny ducklings. They're very sweet and small. And you are looking at the Long Swam Creek. So the Long Swam Creek is a creek that most of you have interacted with. Sorry about that. Sounds like a jet ski's going by on the river behind me. So I'll give you a little frame of reference. So that's upstream of the creek. And I'll do a slow swivel. And this is the Toms River. So across the Toms River, you're looking at the south shore of the Toms River, which is Pine Beach across the way there. And the reason I brought you over here today is because a lot of you have probably driven over the Long Swam Creek. Long Swam Creek goes underneath Route 37, and I'm going to go backwards, so I'm going upstream. It goes under Route 37. It goes underneath of that jug handle clover that is the intersection of Bay and Hooper Ave. It also goes up through Bailey Golf Course, and it runs parallel to Brookside Drive in Toms River. And it begins in the headwaters up at the Seacourt Pavilion. So if you've ever been to the department store on the other side of the Seacourt Pavilion, that lake there, well, obviously it's the stream, but it looks like a lake, that is Long Swam Creek. And so the interesting thing about this creek is that it runs through so many roadways that we are so familiar with driving over, but we don't recognize that there's a stream beneath it. And this stream is obviously, it feeds into the Toms River. So every bit of pollution that finds its way into Long Swam Creek via the golf course, the road, the mall, and everything else will find its way eventually down in the Toms River. And so this has been at times named the most polluted creek in our watershed, which is a little bit concerning. But I brought you over here to show you the ecosystem here because it's going to be very different, or slightly different rather, from the river that we always seine in and talk about. So over here, I'm kind of hoping organically, if I speak softly enough, that a dragonfly will come by, because I want to talk with you about macroinvertebrates for a second. Dragonflies are a flying insect that has a larvae that lives underwater, and so that whole family of organisms, those macroinvertebrates, or creatures that have backbones that you can see without a microscope, macroinvertebrates that live beneath the surface of the water, are impacted by pollution. And some macroinvertebrates are low tolerant to pollution and some are high tolerant to pollution. So dragonflies are low tolerant to pollution. So if we see more dragonflies, flying insects, we know that their larvae are nearby. And that means that the waterway is less polluted. And obviously that's a very broad way to speak about it, but it's a very broad observational skill set to be able to look at the macroinvertebrates that you find in a freshwater waterway to determine the amount of pollution that it's encountering. So I did see one dragonfly fly off, but we need to do a survey here again to see what kind of macros we can find. So we use a scoop net, not unlike the seining, but it's just different shape, and we scoop it up and we see what kind of creatures we find, and the number of them we find, the kind that we find, and then we can make an assessment for how much pollution is in that waterway. And this is something DEP does. Well, there's dragonflies. There were two of them that just flew across the front of the screen there. Maybe you can see them. I'll stay still enough. Maybe you'll be able to see. They're mating. So yeah. The plants that you see around the creek right now are actually invasive plants. These are called Phragmites. There is a native Phragmite, but a botanist shared with me that there are very few of that native strain left. So when I say invasive, I mean a plant that's from another continent, another country. It's not from here. And so you might argue that why would you care so much about an invasive species? Well, invasive species take up habitat from native species. And since our native species have so few places that they can live, it's really, really detrimental. So all these tall reeds that I'm showing you right now are Phragmites, and they've taken over this whole wetland area. So it's another great teaching point to share with you. So I don't want to chatter too much because you've been looking at this for a while. So let's go over back to the guys and see what they have caught in the seine net. Let's see if they have anything fun. So we also found a lot of plastic here. The tide brings a lot of plastic up here. This is influenced by tides for sure. This is brackish water that we're seining in right now. Let's see what we caught. I love when we catch crabs, even though we catch them all the time, and so it's you know, it's fun, but we they're really dynamic. There's a little guy. All right, tell me what you caught. Anything good?
Yeah, we got a snapper blue, we got a bay anchovy.
Snapper blue, bay anchovy. I was talking their ear off while I waited for you to come back. Aha! Let's see. So we try to keep them in water, or we try to get them back in water as soon as we can, just so that we don't kill anything.
There's a bluefish.
We got a bluefish?
Snapper blue.
Oh yeah, snapper is bluefish. See, everyone has different names for things. You can kind of see them. Hold on.
Forktail.
Forktail. This little guy can get really big, and they have sharp teeth. And people often fish for them at the beach or at the inlet.
Voracious predator. They form schools and feed a lot of bait fish. Like these silversides, they'll be chomping on those soon.
Ah. So when you see like fish jumping out of the water, is it possible that the bluefish are beneath the bait?
It could be bluefish, striped bass, any predator fish chasing the ball of bait fish. And you'll see the bait fish jump and try and get out of the water to get away from them.
Those little baby. How fast? Oh, I wonder how fast they grow.
These are just years.
This
Put
year?
him back though, so he can breathe some water.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of warm today, so we don't want to use the water too frequently. All right, let's see what else we got. We got some fishes. Yeah. So we have a really fancy bucket that we make sure is always running with an aerator so that we keep oxygen in the water.
This has a purplish tinge to them.
So this is a bay anchovy. They look really similar to the Silversides. They can be hard to identify if you're not looking closely. So what's the main difference that we can use to identify them?
Look at the head, the forked tail. The color as well, when it came up in the net, it's like a pinkish or purple tinge.
Okay, so it's slightly different color, slightly different tail.
Clear body, you can see through it.
Right, okay. And then I can also, oh, he's like super dynamic. He's like ready for a show here. Did we catch any other goodies? Who else is in here?
We talked about Silversides, we talked about mummy chugs.
Anybody else? Go ahead, I'll let you in there.
It's really cool what you get to do here.
Yay! All right. How are you feeling? Do we want to pull another one or no? You think we'll get anything else? Probably not? Okay, does anyone have any questions? I had trouble being able to reach the questions last time. Let me see if I can get to that before you all leave me. Comments will appear here, so go ahead and put your questions in the comments. If you have any questions about anything I talked about with the freshwater creek or the creatures that we saw in the seine net. Woo, hello. Anyone have any questions for me? I hope that I am able to see them because I don't see any that are popping up. All right, so again, just to kind of go over everything one more time. Today we talked about the Long Swamp Creek. We talked about macroinvertebrates, freshwater macroinvertebrates that help us identify the water quality. And we did a few seine pulls with our friend Matt from Seeds of Service and our volunteer Kevin from Save Barnegat Bay. And as always, every Thursday we're doing a virtual seining program to try and hang out with you all and give you some interaction with the Barnegat Bay creatures. And of course, if you are excited about virtual programming and you'd like to sign up for any virtual programs that are coming up that we plan, certainly do so. But also feel free to reach out to me directly. I can do virtual programs with you and your group. Hi, Valerie. Oh, awesome. No other critters than small fish. Yeah, so sometimes when we pull a seine net here at Browns Woods, we get a ton of stuff. Sometimes we don't. I think it really depends on a lot of factors. Rainfall affects this area. Tides certainly affect this area. Obviously, it is brackish water, so we're kind of getting creatures from, sometimes we could get a creature from the river, but more often we're getting creatures from the bay. And so it really just depends on how fast we pull the net, what direction we pull it in, what kind of habitat we walk through. Great question, John. If you have an environmental science person involved in your family or your group and you want to get them engaged, I would argue that you should sign up to volunteer with Save Barnegat Bay. What you're going to do is end up getting direct emails from me. I don't send them really often. I actually send them probably too infrequently, and you can learn about opportunities that way. If the student is over the age of 16, they are eligible to intern with us, and they can apply for an internship. We're always looking for excited young people to do volunteer internships with us, and then we give them experience and we connect them and network with them and give them work leads, hopefully, if we're lucky. So you can do that. Internships are available. And then you can also just sign up to stay in touch with us on our social media sites. And then always feel free to reach out to us. So my direct email is education@savebarnegatbay.org. I'm the Education and Outreach Coordinator, so I'll get your message directly and then I can hook you up with whatever I can find an opportunity for them. So Valerie's asking, what is the tide doing right now? I didn't check with you first. What's the tide right now?
Outgoing is pretty low.
Yeah, it is pretty low. This beach is pretty wide right now, so it's been an outgoing tide. But remember, we're so far from the inlet that we're on a delay. So whatever you read as the time of the tide at the inlet or at the ocean, you've got to adjust that to make sure that you're accounting for the length of the bay and then also the river. So we're at least a mile or two from the opening of the river. So.
And it's low tide on the ocean front this morning was 5:30, so it takes, like you said, a number of hours for it to hit low tide all the way up here.
Yeah. All right, so 5:30 a.m. was low tide at the ocean. What percentage of salt in the water where you're currently located? Oh my gosh, Bob, I want to answer your question, but I need a hydrometer to do that, and I'm going to get one. I also, we could also get a refractometer. It's on our shopping list of things to do to support our programs, but we could read the level of salt in the water with a small tool that we need to purchase. But if we had to guess, it's probably below 20 parts per thousand if I had to guess. We're really, really close to the freshwater source that's upstream, and the ocean's natural salinity is 32 parts per thousand, give or take. Obviously, that's not exact. So salinity decreases as you get closer to a freshwater source. So if I had to guess, it's somewhere right below 20 parts per thousand, and I'm really guessing, so don't get mad at me if you come here and say that it's not. What exactly is your location? So we are located right now at Browns Woods, which is at 117 Haynes Road. It's the address of the Barnegat Bay Eco Center where Save Barnegat Bay lives. And you are currently looking across the Toms River to 3 towns. So on my right-hand side, there's South Toms River, Beechwood, Pine Beach, and Ocean Gate. So that's the south shore. And then around this point is Island Heights. And this point that you're looking at is Money Island. We're standing on Browns Woods Cove, and then that's like the edge of Haynes Cove, Pine, oh my gosh, I'm blanking now because I'm on the spot. What's the name of that neighborhood on that side? Totally blanked. Guess what? I totally blanked. One of the neighbors will get on and be like, Grace Ann, you should know where we live. Point of Woods. Point of Woods. It's Point of Woods. So that's an idea of where we are right now. So yeah. So I showed you 2 bodies of water today. This is the Toms River, which goes all the way to Jackson Township in Six Flags Great Adventure is the headwaters of the Toms River. So it actually travels a pretty far distance away from us before it gets here. So remember, all of the rainwater is carrying all the junk into the river, and it gets here one day. So just remember, even if you're really far away, you still affect our water down here. And I also showed you the Long Swamp Creek, which is over there in that hole. And the Long Swamp Creek starts up at the Ocean County Mall Seacourt Pavilion area. So remember that you're always driving over a creek or a waterway, you're always in a watershed, and everything you're doing is affecting our water. So just keep that in mind. Any other questions for me? Thanks for sticking with us, my 11 friends who are still here with us. Thank you so much for watching our whole video and hanging with us. Obviously, again, tune in with us next week on Thursday at 10 a.m. Guys, would you like to say bye? You want to wave? Goodbye.
Enjoy. Thank you.
All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.